Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Sarthak Commerce Wala. Today in this video, I'm going to explain you another topic which is very much related to our previous video, and the topic of previous video was lifting up of corporate wheel. But within this video, I'm going to discuss that what are those exceptional cases in which court or the Companies Act 2015 can actually lift up that corporate wheel which is there within between the corporate personality of company and its members. So if you are new to the channel, I want to give you an advice that please watch the previous video of mine within this channel, which is about the concept and meaning of lifting up of corporate wheel, and then please jump onto to this video, because then you can get more accurate view about what we are talking within this video. So let's get started. So before starting about that what are those exceptional cases, I want to tell you one thing, that this lifting up of corporate wheel is an exception of the separate legal entity characteristic of company, because generally the separate legal entity means that company and its member has separate identity. But when the in between wheel or corporate wheel is lifted is due to when members are using the corporate facet of the company for doing fraudulent activities, then the separate legal entity is avoided, and the court and the Companies Act 2015 has to do investigation that what is actually happening within inside the company, or it is actually the company who is doing the wrong or fraudulent activities, or these are the members who are doing by using the name of the company. So that is just bit of a summary that what we had studied about lifting up of corporate wheel within the previous video. Now we are going to discuss that what are the cases under which this lifting up of corporate wheel doctrine or principle can be applied. So there are two categories under which the corporate wheel can be lifted up. First, either by court, or second, or by the Companies Act 2015. So when a court lift up the corporate wheel, then that category is known as cases under judicial interpretation. Or when the Companies Act 2015 lifted up the corporate wheel, then that category is known as cases under statutory provisions. So first of all, we are going to understand the first category under which the corporate wheel can be lifted up by the court, which is known as cases under judicial interpretation, in which first point is determination of character of a company. So this point says that it is very important to determine the character of a company, because in case if it is suspected that the company is owned by the enemies of the country, the court may disregard the corporate wheel and examine the character of the persons in real control of the corporate affairs. And because it is totally illegal to do a transaction with an enemy country company, so in that case, the court can lift up the corporate wheel. Second point is evasion of tax. Now, sometimes court may break the corporate shell of the company, which means the corporate wheel. Court can lift up the corporate wheel if it is appearing to the court that company has been just formed for only the purpose of evading the tax, which means to escaping from the tax and from the tax obligation. Then in that case, court don't seems or consider the company as a separate legal entity. The court lift up the corporate wheel and try to see that what is actually happening within the internal affairs of the company. Okay. Third point is evasion of contract. Court may disregard the separate existence of the company and lift up the corporate wheel if the company is formed for evading contractual and statutory obligation, which means sometime some companies also make another company for showing that, for not showing just, but they want to decline their previous contract with any other company, and therefore they just give an excuse that we are doing the same contract with any other company, therefore we are not able to continue the previous contract. So which means they are using the company's image and they establish the new company just for showing that our initial company is doing a contract which we were doing with any third company before, but because they want to decline that contract, they establish the new company for showing that third company that we are continuing that contract with the new company, but that new company is already these members company. So in that case, the court has to lift up the corporate wheel. Fraud and fraudulent schemes. This point says that in case if any company is doing any fraud and fraudulent activities behind the corporate facet or the corporate personality of the company, then in that case court can lift up the corporate wheel and see that behind the wheel, is it the company who is using their name badly, or are the members using the company's name for making their personal gains. Fifth point is diversion of business opportunity. Sometimes businesses also want to diversify their opportunities, and for that they use the company's image. So if the company is formed for diversifying the operations only, then in that case the court say that we are not going to give company the authority to enjoy their separate legal existence. We are going to check that whether this new company is just established for giving benefit to the previous company, or it is doing its separate operation. If it is doing its separate operations, then it is okay, it is legal. But if a new company is just formed to sell the material of the previous company, because that company was not able to sell its material, therefore a new company for just a show is made, then in that case the court should lift up the corporate wheel and try to know that for which purpose actually the company is established. So this is all about the first category in which a court can apply the principle of lifting up of corporate wheel in these exceptional cases. Now, I'm going to explain you the second category in which the Companies Act 2013 by itself lift up the corporate wheel, or you can say apply the doctrine of corporate wheel in some exceptional cases. So what are those exceptional cases? Let's begin. First point is fraudulent conduct of business, which mean that if in course of winding up of the company, it appears that any business of the company has been carried on with the intention to defraud creditors of the company or any other person related to that company, then the Companies Act 2013 jump into it and try to know that whether that company is doing some fraudulent conduct of the business or they are actually doing some operations. If that is a fraudulent conduct, it can just only be come in light by the help of lifting up of corporate wheel. So if the Companies Act seems that a company is conducting its operation for doing some fraudulent business, then they have to lift up the corporate wheel within that case. Let's move on to the second point, which is misrepresentation in prospectus. What does it mean now? In case if there is any misrepresentation in the prospectus, every director, promoter, and every other person who authorize the issue of these kinds of prospectus which are misleading and misrepresenting the shareholders and investors, then in that case this should be considered as a criminal act, because you are misleading your investors and shareholders and attracting them by not giving the full disclosure about the company. And in that case, the Companies Act 2013 is going to lift up the corporate wheel and see whether the internal parties are giving whole some view about the company to the external parties or not. Third is investigation within the affairs of the company. Now what does it mean? So which means that if a company has some investigation within its internal affairs, because generally as per the Companies Act 2013, according to section 210, 212 or 213, this is already has authorized that if the company is doing something wrong, then the Companies Act 2013 has the power to investigate the affairs of any other related company within the same management, and in that case the separate legal entity is totally avoided. Okay, let's jump on to the fourth point, that is liability of promoters for pre-incorporation contracts, which means that promoters are totally liable for all the performance of pre-incorporation contracts which are not adopted by a company after incorporation. So in that case, even the Companies Act can apply the doctrine of lifting up of corporate wheel. So these are some of the cases where the court or the Companies Act 2013 can apply the lifting up of corporate wheel. But the point is that there are some other cases as well. So I actually find out some of the most important exceptional cases or situation where either a court or the Companies Act 2013 can lift up the corporate wheel. Now, as I mentioned within the previous video of mine as well, that within the company law, you will be going to study some case laws, and case laws are very important to understand, by which you can get the practical viewpoint of a particular point which is there given within your book, or which is what I am teaching you within my video. So there are some important case laws which generally repeated in your previous year examinations, and these are very important. So if you want a video on these case laws which I am writing here, then please comment. I need almost 10 comments from 10 students that I want a video on case laws as well, that what are these case laws. So first important case law is Salomon versus Salomon and Company Limited. Second is Daimler Company Limited versus Continental Tire and Rubber Company. Third one is Lee versus Lee's Air Farming Limited. So these are very important case laws, and these are not just important that they will be coming within your examination, but from understanding or the comprehensibility point of view, these are very important, because these points are going to tell you that why we are studying the lifting up of corporate wheel as well, and why we are saying that lifting up of corporate wheel is an exception of the separate legal entity characteristic of the company. So this is all for the video. If this video seems beneficial for you all students, please do one cheerful comment which motivate me.